I'm not afraid to name an enemy, and the enemy is the oligarchy. It's the billionaires who pay for it and the politicians who sell us out. Why can't we have universal health care like every other first world country? Why can't we take care of our veterans when they come home?
There is an actual progressive candidate running against Susan Collins in Maine for that office. Graham Platner, you may have heard of him. He is kind of a unicorn type candidate that I think everybody should be throwing their support behind, including the Democratic establishment in the Senate. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But let me say this. We are faced with an existential threat to our very republic. And it's it's moderates. She is not a moderate, but moderates like Susan Collins who are leading us to our demise, who are sidling up to Donald Trump in deed, but not in word, who say, oh, I'm very concerned about the actions of Brett Kavanaugh. I'm very concerned about the breaking of promises of Donald Trump. And then she just votes for Donald Trump's agenda at every turn. We need somebody with some mettle. We need someone with some ability to communicate to an electorate exactly how much they're being taken advantage of. And we have that in Graham Platner. Now, there's another candidate in the primary race for the Democrats, and it's Janet Mills, a great woman who has served her state well. She has stood up to Donald Trump, absolutely. But she's 77 years old. She's nearly 80 years old. If she were to win the race, she would enter office in 2025? She'll enter office in 2027. 2 years from now, she might be 79, and then she has 6 years. She'll be in her mid-80s. These people should be thanked for their service and then sent off to retire. Enjoy the remainder of your life in peace. Also, she's not my candidate. She's not as progressive as I would like her to be. I want someone who can speak to the economic anxiety of Democrats and Republicans, who can make a case for a convincing argument for bettering our situation in this country. And that is who Graham Platner is. But he's too liberal, too progressive for corporate Democrats, including Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, who runs the Senate campaign organization. Now, I'm going to read from this Politico article. I got like 3 paragraphs here, and then I'm going to remind you who he is. And if you're already convinced, I put a donation link to his campaign in the description below. If you've got $2, $3, $4, $5, $20, $100, go donate to this guy's campaign and help him change the fabric of American politics through his unique and effective style of communicating with people and convincing people who might not otherwise to come on board and support his campaign. This is the Politico headline. Graham Platner has a growing Senate fan club. The Maine oyster farmer is winning praise from some Democrats as he prepares to face Chuck Schumer's dream recruit. You see, and this is politics. You know, I got my criticisms for Chuck Schumer, and I probably always will. He is not decisive enough. He's not a leader, I don't believe. I think he's a milquetoast, middle of the road, go along to get along kind of a politician. He's not built for this moment. He was great 20 years ago when things were vastly different. But right now, in this moment, with fascism here on the shores of our nation, we need a different style of leader, a different type of leader. This is from Politico. Senate Democrats are warming up to an upstart oyster farmer in the crucial Maine Senate race. Now they'll have to decide if they are willing to snub their party's dream recruit to support him. Dream recruit, 77-year-old lady. So far, Graham Platner only has one public endorsement from a sitting senator, Vermont independent Bernie Sanders, but more than a half dozen Democratic senators sang his praises in interviews this week, even as Minority Leader Chuck Schumer grows closer to landing his top recruiting star to run against Susan Collins, not Platner, but Governor Janet Mills. So I guess technically she's not in the race yet. Senator Martin Heinrich, a Democrat of New Mexico who praised Platner in a recent Twitter post, said in an interview that he has written Platner's campaign a check. He is also showing Platner's viral social media videos to colleagues. Quote, "I really appreciate people who are good communicators," Heinrich said. "Graham is somebody who can go anywhere in Maine and genuinely connect with people. We need more candidates like that." Now, if you watch my content at all, if you watch this show at all, you know that I have a special place in my heart for people who can communicate politics well. Bernie Sanders, AOC, these types have the ability to reach across the aisle and to touch the hearts of individuals, to change hearts and minds about things that they traditionally wouldn't in the team sport of politics. And Graham Platner, you're going to see in a second exactly why he's that guy. He can do that. The question many of them, many in the Senate, are avoiding for the time being is whether Platner, a 41-year-old Marine Corps and Army veteran who has built undeniable grassroots buzz, is a better choice to take on Collins than Mills, the 77-year-old two-term governor who was in elected office when Platner was born. And then this is the linchpin for why you should get involved, because if the Democratic establishment isn't going to support the candidates that are best for Maine, that are best for the party, that are best for the country, then we need to do it ourselves. We need to take up the mantle of leadership that they have surrendered and support this guy's campaign to get him into office. And this involves Kirsten Gillibrand not supporting him. Neither Chuck Schumer nor Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Democrat of New York, the Senate Democratic campaign chair, has reached out to Platner. According to a person granted anonymity to describe private conversations, Platner, for his part, has said he won't support Schumer for party leader if he wins the election. That should have no bearing on this. So again, there's a link in the description. If you've got a few dollars, support this guy's campaign. If you are a progressive, support this guy's campaign. If you're more of a Janet Mills type of Democrat, do your thing. Support her campaign, I guess. But I am here for Graham Platner, and not just because he's also a former United States Marine. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but it's because of this video, which kind of was his launch video. It gives you a flavor for who he is, how he thinks, what motivates him, and who he stands for. This is Graham Platner.
What I love most about Maine are the people. I have never met people who are more hard-scrabble, even in a place that requires you to work like 2 or 3 different jobs. We have watched this state become essentially unlivable for working-class people, and it makes me deeply angry. My name is Graham Platner, and I'm running for U.S. Senate in Maine to defeat Susan Collins. A decade of military service going overseas. Farming oysters to feed my community. Diving to lend a hand to other fishermen. Trying to start a family. But everywhere I've gone, it seems like the fabric of what holds us together is being ripped apart by billionaires and corrupt politicians, profiting off of destroying our environment, driving our families into poverty, and crushing the middle class. I did 4 infantry tours in the Marine Corps and the Army. I'm not afraid to name an enemy, and the enemy is the oligarchy. It's the billionaires who pay for it, and the politicians who sell us out. And yeah, that means politicians like Susan Collins. I'm not fooled by this fake charade of Collins' deliberations and moderation. The difference between Susan Collins and Ted Cruz is at least Ted Cruz is honest about selling us out and not giving a damn. People know that the system is screwing them. They know it in their bones. Nobody I know around here can afford a house. Healthcare is a disaster. Hospitals are closing. We have watched all of that get ripped away from us, and everyone's just trying to keep it all together. Why can't we have universal health care like every other first world country? Why can't we take care of our veterans when they come home? Why are we funding endless wars and bombing children? Why are CEOs more powerful than unions? We fought 3 different wars since the last time we raised the minimum wage. I'm not pretending to have all the answers, but I know that I'm asking the right questions. When I tell people around here that I'm running for Senate, sometimes the initial reaction is, what the f***? But But when I tell them why I'm doing it, because I truly do believe that we can build a system that is going to represent working people, the number one response has been, well, thank God somebody's going to do it. You're supposed to fight for the things you love. This is our home, and I will fight tirelessly for it, for you. It's Mainers first, and Maine always.
That's a guy who could get shit done. That is a guy who has answered the call of his country, already serving in combat in not only the United States Marine Corps, my Marine Corps, but in the Army. Talk about an overachiever. So look, again, if you got $2, $3, $4, if you've got more than that, help support this campaign. It's grassroots support that we've seen lift up candidacies like Bernie Sanders and AOC's and so many others. And this is a guy who can communicate. He looks the part. He is the part. He's the guy. I'll leave it to you. I appreciate your consideration. And I hope that this is the guy who's going to represent Maine this next Congress. I love and appreciate you very much. I would love your feedback here. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I would especially love to hear from you if you're a Mainer, if you live in Maine, if you're going to be in this election. What are your thoughts? If you're on the ground, I'd love to hear from you. I will see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.